In your opinion, what will the leaders of tomorrow look like? How will they be different, or will they be? Andy, what do you think?
I don't think they'll be dramatically different. I think, we've talked a lot about some of the core things that I think make great leaders. I don't think those things will dramatically change. How they show them, how they live through them, I think, may be different. They may be more flexible with doing a lot of stuff on screen than I think certainly I was when this started. But I don't think they're going to be dramatically different. I think you're going to see some core strengths. You got to be resilient. You've got to be human. And nobody expects, I think sometimes, particularly this is been true for young people stepping into leadership forever. And you know this, Maria, because you run a leadership program. People think, when you get to leadership, you got to get it right all the time. You got to be perfect. You can't screw up. You can't show your weaknesses. And when it's exactly the opposite, you're not going to be perfect all the time. You have to have confidence. You have to be resolute, but you have to be human, and you have to, when you do make those mistakes, you have to be willing to say that. But that doesn't mean you're going to be perfect. And it's that living in your humanness, but also, I think Mark said, knowing, being comfortable with who you are as a leader is going to be very important. And I think those traits are going to be true. Perhaps one thing was that they'll be a little bit more comfortable with ambiguity than I think some leaders are, because we've had you've had to be in this environment. You just don't have a choice, because the world is changing every day, and we don't know where we sit today. We certainly didn't know we were going to be here in this way, in this space, at the beginning of March. And perhaps we should have, but I don't think most of us did. And where we're going to be at the end of the summer, I think we can have some ideas, but I don't think we really know that. And that's kind of incredible, right? When you're used to thinking in quarters, all of a sudden you're like, hey, at the end of this quarter, I'm not really sure where we're going to be in terms of environment. Are we going to be in our office? Are we going to be face to face? And that's, I think leaders coming up will be more comfortable with that environment than perhaps leaders who haven't led through this.
Sam or Mark, your thoughts?
I agree with Andy. I think what we see in leaders is what we want in leaders, but I think there's a shift in what they, quote, would accept from leaders. I think very often when a leader makes a mistake, it's troubling for an organization, but when you're in crisis and you're moving so fast, you're bound to make mistakes. I've encouraged our team, hey, before we get out on a live feed, just make sure everyone has their notes in front of them. Did you check the information twice? Did you practice if you had time to practice? It's okay if things don't go right in the Zoom presentation. We joke around. We have an executive producer who produces our show in our virtual world. But I think the future leaders of tomorrow will realize not only is it okay to make a mistake, but your board says it's okay to make a mistake. Okay, so your employees see it, your board see it, your customers know you're doing the best job possible, but under some pretty dire circumstances. So if you don't get it right 100%, that's okay. And I think what it does is it will drive the next generation of leaders to be more creative. You must succeed. You have no choice. You must go forward. We all want to bring our companies out on the other side and be winners. And we want to know that our companies will continue to thrive, and that we'll be able to hire more employees in Chicago and keep developing our business. So what it's really going to do is going to take the creative mindset and accelerate those type of individuals, the really think out of the box individuals, for coming up with some really unique strategies during this time. And those individuals will now get the spotlight shown on them, which may be something new in organizations.
Great.
I'll just add the word trust, I think, is going to become more important than ever. When something this, what you call it, a black swan event or whatever you want to call it. But I think people realized people had a moment where, oh my gosh, so much of my career, my economic stability, is in the hands of ultimately one person or a small group of people. Boy, I sure hope I trust them. And when you realize the decision of whether you lay people off or not and take salary cuts or not, or how lead transparently or not, the people you're kind of stuck in the boat that you got on, and you better hope you trust the captain to get you through it. And so I think trust will matter more than ever. And I think our leaders will hopefully focus their careers on future leaders on really building and earning that trust.